To hear all our audiobooks, especially those that aren't available on YouTube, become a Patreon supporter. It's the first link in the description below. Thank you for your support. The Governance of China, Volume 3 by Xi Jinping. Section 9, Further Reform and Opening Up. Focus all reform efforts on creating a new development dynamic. Main points of the speech at the 15th meeting of the Central Commission for Further Reform. September 1st, 2020. We must move faster to create a double development dynamic with the domestic economy as the mainstay, and the domestic economy and international engagement providing mutual reinforcement. This is a strategic decision made in the context of the stage, environment, and conditions of China's development, and a systematic and in-depth reform of overall importance. We must continue to make full and good use of reform as a powerful instrument, and to press ahead with resolve. The focus of our work is to uphold and improve the socialist system with Chinese characteristics, and to modernize China's system and capacity for governance. To this end, we will promote in-depth reform and high-standard opening up, which will provide stronger impetus for building the new development dynamic. To create this dynamic, we have institutional strengths and a firm foundation based on reform. Since the party's 18th National Congress in 2012, we have launched a series of major reform measures to implement the new development philosophy, promote high-quality development, and pursue greater opening up, and we have achieved a range of theoretical, institutional, and practical outcomes. To make good use of these, we must redouble our efforts, quicken our pace, and tackle deeper-seated problems so that reform will deliver substantial results. In brief, we must focus all reform efforts on creating the new development dynamic. But this will not come easily, as we currently face many new problems. Therefore, with the necessity of reform in mind, we must balance short-term response and medium to long-term development. We need to formulate a sound strategy and at the same time make the right moves in key areas of reform. We should accelerate reform programs that increase the efficiency of resource allocation, improve the quality and benefits of development, and mobilize all sectors of society. We must focus on key problems, integrate and coordinate various reform measures for greater efficiency, and remove bottlenecks in policy coordination for overall impact. We should integrate the pursuit of the new development dynamic with the strategy of coordinated regional development and the program of pilot free trade zones so that regions with the right conditions can pioneer new models of development and become the new drivers of reform and opening up. We need to be forward-looking in our research on reform so as to identify the factors that change the nature of related problems. Always innovative and enterprising, we should follow the right direction and become more proactive and effective in tackling uncertainties. Accordingly, we must be well prepared, leave more room for policy adjustment, and make our institutions more responsive. Work together to boost global trade in services. Part of this speech at the Global Trade and Services Summit of the 2020 China International Fair for Trade in Services, September 4th, 2020. China International Fair for Trade in Services, CIF-TIS, is a large exhibition and a trading platform dedicated to trade in services. This comprehensive state-level event has a global reach and has been held 6 times since 2012. We hope that this year's CIF-TIS, whose theme is Global Services, Shared Prosperity, will present an opportunity and serve as a platform and a bridge for people from across the world to fully showcase new progress and breakthroughs in services trade, and share in new technologies and the benefits of human progress. We hope that through in-depth exchanges and closer cooperation, you delegates participating in the event will contribute your wisdom and energy to expanding cooperation on trade and investment in services and invigorating economic and social development. Our world is going through change on a scale unseen in a century, and the COVID-19 pandemic is accelerating this process. There is a backlash against economic globalization. Protectionism and unilateralism are on the rise. The world economy is stagnating. International trade and investment have slumped. Such are the unprecedented challenges and tests that humanity faces. That said, let us not forget that a new revolution in science, technology, and industry in recent years has spurred a boom in digital technologies, led to deeper industrial integration, and allowed the service economy to flourish. During this pandemic, certain services have become widely used. Telemedicine, e-learning, sharing platforms, cooperative office systems, and cross-border e-commerce, to name just a few. They have played an important part in ensuring economic stability in all countries and promoting international cooperation against COVID-19. Going forward, open cooperation in the services sector is becoming an increasingly important driver of development. Here, I would like to take this opportunity to share with you 3 proposals. First, let us work together to foster an open and inclusive environment for cooperation. A review of human history shows that the global economy thrives in openness and withers in seclusion. The services sector is unique as it is asset-light but heavy in soft factors of production. As such, it requires more than other sectors an open, transparent, inclusive, and non-discriminatory environment to allow businesses to grow. It calls for the concerted efforts of all countries to reduce border and behind-the-border barriers constraining the flow of production factors and promote cross-border connectivity. China will remain steadfast in opening up wider to the world. We will continue to work on a negative list system for managing cross-border trade in services. We will develop open platforms to pilot innovative development in services trade. We will further ease market access for the services sector and increase imports of quality services. To meet the actual need for growing trade in services, China will promote greater harmonization of rules for the services sector at multilateral and regional levels and work for continued improvements in global economic governance and more inclusive global economic growth. Second, let us work together to unleash the power of innovation in driving cooperation. We need to adapt to the trend towards digital-driven, internet-based, and smart growth, jointly eliminate the digital divide, and advance the digitalization of trade in services. China will continue to build a basis for exporting particular services and develop new business forms and models in services trade. China will work with other countries to strengthen macro policy coordination, accelerate international cooperation in the digital sector, step up intellectual property protection, and facilitate the vibrant growth of the digital economy and the sharing economy. Our efforts will generate renewed dynamism in the global economy. Third, let us work together to promote mutually beneficial cooperation. In this age of economic globalization, countries share a new level of economic interdependency and interlinked interests. To treat each other with sincerity and pursue shared beliefs holds the key to state-to-state relations in today's world. Countries need to forge greater synergy in growing their trade and services, try to find new ways and identify more areas of cooperation, and look for the widest possible convergence of interests in development so as to steadily make the pie bigger. China will make full use of CIFTIS and other platforms, such as the China International Import Expo, to promote policy exchange and experience sharing, and foster diverse partnerships with foreign governments, international organizations, business associations, and enterprises. China supports the establishment of a global alliance for trade in services. We hope to see more tangible results from our practical cooperation. so that people in different countries will all benefit from growing trade in services. To better leverage Beijing's role in spearheading the opening up of China's services sector, we will support the city in developing a national demonstration zone for greater openness in the services sector. It will enable Beijing to take bigger, bolder steps and gain more experience that can be replicated and scaled up. We will also support Beijing in setting up a pilot free trade zone directed towards scientific and technological innovation in open services sector and the digital economy. It will serve as a platform for higher standard opening up and coordinated development of the Beijing-Tianjin-Hebei region, and create new and broader horizons for reform and opening up. Raise reform and opening up to a higher level. Excerpt from 2 speeches made on October 1st and November 12th, 2020. Speech 1, October 14th, 2020. The current situation calls for new responsibilities and new actions. The Special Economic Zones, SEZs, must uphold socialism with Chinese characteristics, implement the 5-sphere integrated plan and the 4-pronged comprehensive strategy, apply the new development philosophy, promote high-quality growth, and foster the new development dynamic in the new development stage which China has entered. The SEZs must press ahead non-stop with reform and opening up at a higher level to achieve new progress, and must contribute more to delivering the second centenary goal, that is, building China into a modern socialist country that is prosperous, strong, democratic, culturally advanced, harmonious, and beautiful by the centenary of the People's Republic of China in 2049. Looking to Shenzhen for further reform and opening up and innovative development, the Party Central Committee issued guidelines last August on supporting Shenzhen in building a demonstration pilot zone for socialism with Chinese characteristics, with a comprehensive plan to achieve the goal. Shenzhen must succeed in building this pilot zone, thereby exemplifying what a model city in a strong and modern socialist country will be like. It should strengthen its capacity to implement the new development philosophy, create a new dynamic for deeper reform and broader opening up on all fronts, contribute to development in the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area to enrich the practice of the one country, two systems policy and lead the country in achieving socialist modernization. All this is the historic mission assigned by the Party Central Committee to Shenzhen in the new era. From the speech at a grand gathering to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the establishment of the Shenzhen Special Economic Zone, October 14th, 2020. Speech 2, November 12th, 2020. On the new journey forward, the role and mission of Pudong will be determined with reference to the overall plans for revitalizing the Chinese nation, and in the context of global change on a scale unseen in a century. It will also be weighed against the drive to create a double development dynamic with the domestic economy as the mainstay and the domestic economy and international engagement providing mutual reinforcement. We should accurately identify and wisely respond to changes, proactively seek opportunities, and seize the initiative in crises. The CPC Central Committee is formulating guidelines on making Pudong New Area a pioneering zone in socialist modernization through high-standard reform and opening up, and will assign the area new major tasks for reform and opening up. Pudong should seize this opportunity to achieve robust development, following the guiding principles of the 19th CPC National Congress and the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th plenary sessions of the 19th CPC Central Committee. Pudong should implement the new development philosophy and create the new development dynamic based on a sound understanding of the new development stage, guided by the underlying principle of pursuing progress while ensuring stability. Pudong is expected to take on the most arduous and difficult tasks. You should strive to become a pace setter for higher level reform and opening up, a forerunner of comprehensive socialist modernization, and a model to exemplify our confidence in the path, theory, system, and culture of socialism with Chinese characteristics, displaying more vividly China's philosophy, values, and development path to the world. From the speech at a grand gathering to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the development and opening up of Shanghai's Pudong New Area, November 12, 2020. Greater breakthroughs for reform in the new development stage. Main points of the speech at the 17th meeting of the Central Commission for Further Reform, December 30th, 2020. Since the third plenary session of the 18th CPC Central Committee in 2013, the Central leadership has shown unprecedented resolve and made unprecedented efforts. It has broken free from the fetters of old thinking and ideas, broken through the barriers of vested interests, and broken down institutional obstacles. Responding proactively to the risks and challenges arising from a changing external environment, we have launched another wave of sweeping reform. We have made progress in fulfilling the tasks and goals set at the plenary session, established basic systems and frameworks in all areas, and systematically overhauled or restructured many of these areas in a drive for historic transformation. A solid foundation has been laid for a well-conceived, procedure-based, and effective framework to ensure that all our systems are more mature and better defined. Great successes of historic significance have been achieved in furthering reform. Pressing ahead with confidence, we will forge a strong synergy of reform and work even harder to ensure that reform achieves greater breakthroughs and successes in the new development stage. Over the past years, we have put forward a series of new theories, adopted a range of major measures, and made a number of important breakthroughs. All of this is revolutionary, bringing about groundbreaking change of historic significance in which reform and opening up advances all undertakings of the party and the state. First, this represents a profound change in thinking and theory. We have continued to use new theory to guide innovations in reform and summarized past experience to enrich and develop our theory. We have devised a number of groundbreaking strategic and guiding concepts in terms of general goals, focus, priority tasks, and reform measures to provide an answer to a series of theoretical and practical questions such as why overall and deeper reform is necessary in the new era and how to further reform in an all-round way. Second, it represents a profound change in the organization. We have strengthened the party's centralized, unified leadership over all-round reform and driven it forward with a holistic view and systems thinking, from laying the groundwork in the initial stage through building momentum on all fronts in the intermediate stage to strengthening systems integration, coordination, and efficiency at the present stage. We have done away with institutional barriers, obstructive mechanisms, and problems impeding policy innovation in various areas in a steady, forceful, and orderly manner. With clear targets, strategic plans, and effective measures, we have removed bottlenecks and achieved a historic change from local pilots to systemic, coordinated, and deeper reform across the board. Third, it represents a profound change in state and governance systems. We have always taken the improvement of systems as the general goal of further reform. We must continue to improve our system framework, consolidate our fundamental systems, improve our basic systems, and upgrade important systems. These endeavors have played an important role in the fight against COVID-19, the completion of a moderately prosperous society in all respects, the final victory over absolute poverty, the implementation of the 13th five-year plan, and the economic work of the whole year. Institutional reform is obviously essential to these successes. Reviewing the scale and depth of our reforms and the progress on all undertakings of the party and the state, we can say that these achievements have been in keeping with the times and have satisfied our practical needs. Fourth, it represents a profound change involving the people's extensive participation. We promote reform with the people at the center. We uphold party leadership while respecting the people's creativity. As if we were crossing a river by feeling for stones, we explore each step forward while improving top-level design. We launch pilot programs while advancing reform on all fronts, focusing on the most pressing and immediate problems that concern the people the most. We have implemented reforms in key fields, giving our people a stronger sense of gain, fulfillment, and security. Championing reform and innovation, our society is progressing with vitality. However, reform is still confronted by many complex conflicts and problems. Although we have surmounted many formidable obstacles, still there are tough ones to be overcome. We should combine our efforts to continue reform with our work towards achieving the overall goals of the party and the state, and employ innovative and pioneering reforms in such strategic tasks as implementing the new development philosophy, creating the double development dynamic, and promoting high-quality development. We should combine our efforts to further reform with our work on institutional integration. We should focus on fundamental and leading reform measures, strengthen alignment and coherence among institutional innovations, and increase the comprehensive efficacy of reform. We should integrate reform with preventing and diffusing major risks. We should conduct in-depth analysis and assessment of situations and tasks, and conduct reform measures at the right moment, in a suitable form, and at an appropriate pace, in a bid to achieve solid and sustainable results. We should combine our efforts to stimulate innovation with our drive to pool our strengths, boost incentive mechanisms, and fully mobilize all sectors to use their initiative and creativity, promote reform in all fields, and open up new vistas in the new development stage. Let China's openness benefit the world. Keynote speech at the opening ceremony of the 4th China International Import Expo. November 4th, 2021. Your Excellencies, heads of state and government, Your Excellencies, heads of international organizations, Your Excellencies, heads of delegations, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, friends, good evening. As the 4th China International Import Expo, CIIE, opens today, it gives me great pleasure to join you online in this virtual meeting. At the outset, on behalf of the Chinese government and people, and also in my own name, I would like to extend a warm welcome to our distinguished guests, and cordial greetings and best wishes to our friends old and new. China always honors its words with actions. The measures for further opening up I announced at the 3rd CIIE have largely been implemented. The negative list for cross-border trade and services at the Hainan Free Trade Port has been released. Steady progress is being made in reform and innovation in pilot free trade zones. Foreign investment access continues to expand. The business environment continues to improve. Negotiations on the China-EU Comprehensive Agreement on Investment have been concluded, and China is among the first to have completed domestic ratification of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. China has overcome the impact of COVID-19 to achieve exceptional growth in foreign trade. As the only major economy to register positive growth of trade in goods last year, China has made an important contribution to keeping global industrial and supply chains stable and boosting world economic recovery. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, as we speak, the world is experiencing the combined impact of major changes and a pandemic, both on a scale unseen in a century. Unilateralism and protectionism are on the rise, and economic globalization is facing headwinds. Studies show a steady decline of the World Openness Index over the past decade and a weakening of global support for opening up, which are causes for great concern. For a boat to sail upstream, it must forge ahead. Otherwise, the current will drive it backward. We must have an accurate perspective of the trends in economic globalization and support countries around the world in opening up wider while rejecting unilateralism and protectionism. This is vital if we are to take humanity to a better future. Opening up is the hallmark of contemporary China. This year marks the 20th anniversary of China's accession to the World Trade Organization (WTO). Over the last 2 decades, China has fully delivered on its accession commitments. Its overall tariff rate has been cut from 15.3% to 7.4%, lower than the 9.8% accession commitment. The central government has reviewed and revised over 2,300 laws and regulations, and local governments over 190,000 items, which has helped to unleash market and social vitality. Since the start of COVID-19, China has provided to the international community some 350 billion masks, over 4 billion protective suits, over 6 billion testing kits, over 1.6 billion doses of vaccine. China has actively promoted international cooperation against the pandemic and supported waiving intellectual property rights on vaccines for developing countries. These are the concrete actions China has taken to honor our commitments and fulfill our responsibilities. Over the past 20 years, China's economy has grown from the 6th to the 2nd largest in the world, trade in goods from 6th to 1st, and trade in services from 11th to 2nd. China has led developing countries in the use of foreign investment, and its outbound direct investment has risen from 26th to 1st. The past 20 years have seen a China that is expanding reform and pursuing all-round opening up, a China that is seizing opportunities and rising to challenges, and a China that is stepping up to its responsibilities and benefiting the whole world. Since joining the WTO, China has continued to open wider to the world, thus generating a new wave of domestic development while injecting fresh impetus into the global economy. China's development and progress since its WTO accession 20 years ago is the result of much hard work and great tenacity on the part of the Chinese people under the robust leadership of the CPC. It is also the result of China's proactive steps to strengthen international cooperation and pursue win-win cooperation. On this occasion, I wish to express my heartfelt thanks to all Chinese and foreign friends from different social sectors for taking part in and witnessing this historic process and for supporting China's opening up and development. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, an ancient Chinese once observed, "One can tell the inside of a thing by observing its outside, and see future developments by reviewing the past." Footnote 1. Lie Zi. This is a Taoist classic attributed to Lie Yuko. Lie Yuko, dates unknown, also known as Lie Zi, was a Taoist thinker and writer in the Warring States period 475 to 221 BC. End of footnote 1. For any country or nation to thrive, it must follow the logic of history and develop in line with the trends of the times. We in China will not lose our resolve to open wider at a high standard. We will not lose our determination to share development opportunities with the rest of the world. We will not lose our commitment to economic globalization that is more open, inclusive, balanced, and beneficial to all. First, China will safeguard true multilateralism. The multilateral trading system with the WTO at its core is the cornerstone of international trade. Right now, the multilateral trading system is under threat. China supports WTO reform in the right direction. We support the inclusive development of the multilateral trading system, as well as the legitimate rights and interests of the developing members. China will take an active and open attitude in negotiations on issues such as the digital economy, trade and the environment, industrial subsidies, and state-owned enterprises, and we will uphold the position of the multilateral trading system as the main channel for international rule setting and safeguard the stability of global industrial and supply chains. Second, China will share market opportunities with the rest of the world. China has a population of over 1.4 billion and a middle-income group of more than 400 million people. Our annual imports of goods and services are valued at around US $2.5 trillion. All this offers an enormous market. Going forward, China will lay more emphasis on expanding imports and pursue balanced development of trade. China will open more demonstration zones for promotion of imports and innovation in trade, optimize the catalog of retail imports via cross-border e-commerce, encourage the on-site processing of imported goods from trading between border residents, and increase imports from neighboring countries. China will better integrate its domestic and foreign trade, develop some of its major cities into international consumption hubs, promote Silk Road e-commerce, establish modern logistics systems, and build additional capacity in cross-border logistics. Third, China will promote high-standard opening up. It will further reduce the negative list for foreign investment and expand the opening of telecommunications, healthcare, and other services in an orderly fashion. We will revise and enlarge the encouraged industry catalog to guide more foreign investment towards sectors such as advanced manufacturing, modern services, high and new technology, energy conservation, and environmental protection, and towards the central, western, and northeastern regions. China will conduct stress tests for high standard opening up in pilot free trade zones and the Hainan Free Trade Port, and will release a negative list for cross-border trade and services in the pilot free trade zones. China will engage in extensive international cooperation on green and low-carbon development and the digital economy, and work continuously for its accession to the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership and the Digital Economy Partnership Agreement. Fourth, China will uphold the common interests of the world. It will take an active part in cooperation within the United Nations, the WTO, the G20, APEC, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and other institutions, and encourage wider discussions on such issues as trade and investment, the digital economy, and green and low-carbon development. China will support fair global distribution of vaccines and other key medical supplies and unimpeded trade in these public goods. China will promote high-quality Belt and Road cooperation to provide development opportunities and deliver real benefits to more countries and people. China will actively join in global efforts to tackle climate change and safeguard food and energy security, and provide more assistance to fellow developing countries within the framework of South-South cooperation. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, as a Qing dynasty scholar said, the going may be tough when one walks alone, but it gets easier when people walk together. Footnote 2. Wei Yuan, Essays by Wei Yuan, Mo Gu. Wei Yuan, 1794 to 1857, was a thinker and writer of the Qing dynasty. End of footnote 2. As the pandemic continues to wreak havoc and the global economy faces a rocky recovery, it is all the more important that the world joins together to pull us through this difficult time. China stands ready to work with all countries to build an open world economy so that the spring breeze of openness will bring warmth to all parts of the world. Thank you. End of section 9. To hear all our audiobooks, especially those that aren't available on YouTube, become a Patreon supporter. It's the first link in the description below. Thank you for your support.